The invitation to the office party was a joke. Not because of the event itself, I'm sure it was going to be the usual corporate nonsense with overpriced cocktails and forced networking, but because Emily never wanted me at these things. Every other year, it was the same excuse. It's just for employees, or you wouldn't have fun, babe, it's mostly work talk. But this year? Suddenly, she was eager, practically begging me to come. I should have questioned it. Should have asked myself why my wife, who had spent the past 3 years subtly pushing me away from her work life, now wanted me front and center. But I didn't. Because when you trust someone, you don't analyze every little shift in their behavior. You assume they love you the way you love them. That was my first mistake. She spent hours getting ready, longer than usual. I leaned against the bathroom door frame, watching her in the mirror as she applied her lipstick with the precision of a surgeon. You excited? I asked, trying to ignore the gnawing feeling in my gut. Her hand faltered just a little. A tiny hesitation most people wouldn't have noticed. But I did. Of course, she said, smoothing out her expression so fast it made me question if I'd imagined it. It's an important night. For you or for me? I asked, half joking. She laughed, but there was something off about it. Both of us. That should have been my second warning. When we arrived at the venue, a sleek rooftop overlooking the city, Emily was immediately swallowed by a group of coworkers. I hung back, nursing a drink, observing. It was interesting seeing her in this world. The way she carried herself was different. More polished. More controlled. She was performing. And then I saw him. Daniel. Her boss. Tall, confident, the kind of man who walked into a room and expected it to bend around him. He had that effortless charm that made people want to listen when he spoke. And Emily? She was at his side like a shadow, laughing at his jokes, touching his arm, subtle, barely noticeable. But I noticed. Something was wrong. I wasn't the only one watching them. A woman, mid-40s, sharp eyes, sipped her wine near the bar, tracking Emily and Daniel with a look I couldn't quite place. Disgust? Pity? Amusement? She caught me staring and smirked. Then, in a move so casual it sent a chill up my spine, she leaned in and murmured, "You must be the husband." Every hair on my body stood on end. "Excuse me." She tilted her glass toward Emily and Daniel. "It's fascinating watching it happen in real time." I clenched my jaw. Watching what? Her lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. The lie unraveling. I wanted to dismiss her. Write her off as some bitter employee stirring up trouble. But something in her tone, in the certainty of her words, made my blood run cold. Before I could ask anything else, she walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Emily was still across the room, completely unaware that the cracks in her perfect little world had just started to show. I wasn't sure what disturbed me more. The woman's words or the fact that they made sense. I wasn't a paranoid husband. I didn't go through Emily's phone, didn't track her location, didn't question every late night at the office. But in that moment, watching her lean into Daniel, her hand brushing his in a way that was too familiar, I felt something inside me snap into place. A realization that had been trying to surface for months, maybe years. I needed proof. I drained my drink and forced myself to look casual as I wove through the crowd, nodding and smiling at people I didn't know. My eyes never leaving Emily. She was too comfortable here, too at home in this environment. And Daniel? He wasn't treating her like an employee. He was treating her like a secret. Emily noticed me approaching and immediately stiffened. But it was Daniel who reacted first. His hand dropped from her waist. Her waist. I felt my pulse hammer in my skull, but I kept my face neutral. There he is. Daniel grinned, extending a hand like he hadn't just been touching my wife like she belonged to him. Emily's told me so much about you. I shook his hand, squeezing just a little harder than necessary. Funny. She's barely mentioned you. The tension was instant. A flicker of something in Daniel's expression gone as quickly as it appeared. But Emily? She laughed too loudly, stepping between us like she could physically block the hostility radiating off me. "Babe, don't be like that," she said, looping her arm through mine. It felt forced. Like she was playing the role of a devoted wife. Daniel's been such a great mentor. Mentor, right? I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. Sounds like it. Daniel chuckled, taking a sip of his drink. Emily's a star. I don't know what I'd do without her. I bet. Before I could say something that would turn this party into a crime scene, a waiter passed by with a tray of drinks. I grabbed one, needing something to keep my hands busy. Emily shot me a warning look, "Don't make a scene," but I wasn't the one acting suspicious. Daniel's phone vibrated on the bar, and I glanced down instinctively. A message popped up. "Can't wait for later. Meet me in the usual spot?" No name. Just a devil emoji. Daniel tilted his screen away, but it was too late. I'd seen it. And when I turned to Emily, I saw it in her eyes. She had seen it too. Panic. Guilt. A split second of sheer terror before she smoothed it over with a fake laugh, reaching for Daniel's arm like she could control the narrative. Ugh, his friends are the worst, she said, rolling her eyes. Always sending dumb messages like that. She was already lying. Already covering for him. I let out a slow breath, nodding as if I believed her. As if my entire marriage wasn't imploding right in front of me. Yeah, I said, swirling the drink in my glass. Totally dumb. And then I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. Because if Emily wanted to lie to my face, if she wanted to keep up this charade, then I was going to let her. But I wasn't leaving this party without the truth. I wasn't stupid. If I called her out now, she'd spin it. She'd gaslight, cry, accuse me of being insecure. No, if I wanted to rip her perfect little world apart, I needed more. So I played my part. I laughed at the right moments, made small talk with her coworkers, even let Emily cling to my arm like she wasn't silently begging me to drop it. But the entire time, my mind was working, calculating, watching. The problem with affairs is that they thrive in secrecy. They need shadows, quiet corners, stolen moments. And in a room this crowded, there were no shadows deep enough. Which meant if Emily and Daniel were sneaking around, they had a pattern. A safe place. The usual spot. I needed to find out where that was. The woman from earlier, the one who had whispered that cryptic message, was standing near the balcony, sipping her wine like she had all the time in the world. I approached casually, stopping beside her to admire the city view. You really have a way of ruining a party, I said, keeping my voice light. She smirked. You seemed like you needed it. Did I? I glanced sideways at her. Or did you just enjoy watching the train wreck? She took another sip, considering. A little of both. Then she turned fully toward me, tilting her head. You want to know, don't you? I kept my expression neutral. No, what? She laughed softly. Where they go? When they think no one's watching. Bingo. My grip tightened around my glass. I don't suppose you'd be willing to share. She let the silence stretch between us, testing me. Then, with a slow, knowing smile, she set her drink down and pulled her phone from her purse. A few taps later, she turned the screen toward me. A text thread. Photos. Screenshots. Emily and Daniel, not kissing, not touching, but too close. Sneaking off at previous events. Arriving at the same hotel at different times. Leaving hours later. My stomach turned. It was one thing to suspect. Another to see proof. Why are you showing me this? I asked, my voice tight. She sighed. Because I was you. Married to a man who thought I'd never find out. She nodded toward the phone. And because I don't like them. Either of them. I swallowed down the rage climbing up my throat. Where? She slid the phone back into her purse. There's a private lounge upstairs. For VIPs. They've used it before. I exhaled slowly. I had two choices. I could walk away, pretend I never saw that text, let Emily feed me more lies when we got home. Or I could go upstairs and end this tonight. The choice was easy. I turned on my heel and walked straight to the stairs. I wasn't going to let Emily or Daniel know I was onto them. Not yet. If they wanted to sneak around, whisper behind my back, exchange secret messages, then I was going to play their game, but on my terms. I needed proof. Not just gut feelings, not just the way she stiffened when I got too close or how he tilted his phone away like a guilty teenager. I needed something undeniable. So I waited. The party went on around me, but I wasn't really there. I watched. I listened. I paid attention to every glance, every hesitation, every time Emily's eyes flickered toward Daniel like they were speaking in a silent language only they understood. And then I saw it. Emily checked her phone under the table during dinner, her fingers moving quickly. A reply. To him. She thought no one noticed, but I did. And Daniel? He smirked. Smirked. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought my teeth might crack. The moment dinner was over, people started moving around the venue, some going to the dance floor, others back to the bar. Emily leaned in, kissing my cheek, too sweet, too fake. I need to freshen up, she murmured. Sure. She slipped away, her red dress vanishing into the crowd. Not toward the restrooms. Toward the hallway leading to the private offices. And guess who left 5 minutes later? Daniel. I set my drink down carefully, my hands steady despite the rage building inside me. Then, without hesitation, I followed. The hallway was dimly lit, the music from the main room muffled behind me. My footsteps were silent against the carpet as I moved past closed doors, each one with a plaque displaying the name of some executive. And then, a light. A door slightly ajar. I didn't hesitate. I pushed the door open, stepping inside. Emily was against the desk, Daniel in front of her, his hand on her waist, his head tilted down like he was whispering something. Her hands were on his chest. And the worst part? She wasn't pushing him away. She was pulling him closer. The sound of the door clicking shut behind me made them freeze. Emily turned first, her face draining of color so fast I thought she might pass out. Daniel straightened, clearing his throat, already shifting into damage control mode. But I wasn't looking at him. I was looking at her. And for the first time I didn't see my wife. I saw a liar. A coward. A woman who had already betrayed me and was only sorry she'd been caught. "Don't stop on my account," I said, my voice disturbingly calm. "Go on." I'd hate to interrupt. The elevator doors slid open and I stepped inside, my pulse hammering in my ears. I had no idea what floor they were on, no room number, no concrete plan, just the undeniable truth that my wife was somewhere in this hotel with her boss. I jabbed at the button for the top floor. If they were trying to be discreet, they'd go somewhere expensive, somewhere private. As the elevator climbed, my mind raced through all the possible scenarios. What if I walked in on them? What if I caught them in the act? What if I was wrong? No, I wasn't wrong. I had seen the way Emily looked at Daniel. The way she didn't look at me anymore. The doors opened to a quiet hallway. Plush carpet. Dim lighting. Fancy. I walked slowly, scanning the doors. Then I saw it, Daniel's name on the executive suite plaque. I stood there, breathing hard, fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. This was it. I raised my hand to knock, then stopped. No, not yet. Knocking gave them a warning. It gave them time to lie, to cover their tracks, to make excuses. I needed undeniable proof. I turned, walking briskly back toward the elevators. My heart pounded as I stepped outside and pulled out my phone. I called Emily. It rang. Once, twice. Then, "Hey, babe," she answered, her voice too casual, too normal. "Where are you?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Oh, I just left the party," she said smoothly. "Heading home soon." Lies. I swallowed the bitter taste in my mouth. "Really? You sure about that?" "Of course. Where else would I be?" She even laughed. Something inside me snapped. "Funny," I said coldly, stepping back inside the hotel. "Because I'm looking at Daniel's name on a penthouse suite right now. And I don't think you're anywhere near home." Silence. A long, heavy silence. Then she hung up. I stared at my phone, rage boiling in my veins. She didn't deny it. She didn't try to explain. She hung up. That was all the proof I needed. I turned and marched straight to the front desk, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "Hey," I said to the receptionist, flashing my best polite smile. "I think I left my wallet in Daniel Wright's suite. My wife and I were just up there with him. Do you mind giving me a spare key?" The receptionist hesitated, eyeing me warily. "I'm sorry, sir, but I can't," I sighed, shaking my head like this was all just a minor inconvenience. "Look, I get it, security and all that. But my wife Emily? Blonde, blue dress? She's up there right now, she'll vouch for me. Can you call the room?" The receptionist still looked unsure, but finally nodded, picking up the phone. I watched as she dialed. Listened as the phone rang. No answer. The receptionist frowned, tried again. Still nothing. I forced a laugh. "See? She probably left her phone on silent. That's Emily for you. Just let me run up and grab my wallet. I promise it'll take 2 seconds." She hesitated. Then, with a sigh, she pulled out a spare key card and slid it across the counter. "Just be quick." I grabbed it, nodded my thanks, and walked, not ran, to the elevator. My hands were shaking as I pressed the button for the top floor. Emily was about to find out exactly what happened when you treated your husband like a fool. The elevator ride felt like an eternity. My pulse pounded in my ears, my grip tightening around the key card like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. Emily had hung up on me. No excuses. No desperate attempts to lie her way out. Just silence. That told me everything. The doors slid open, and I stepped into the hallway, my breath slow and controlled. The plush carpet muffled my footsteps as I moved toward Daniel's suite. My hand hovered over the keycard scanner, but I hesitated for half a second. Was I really ready for this? Then I thought about Emily laughing at my question. Thought about the message on Daniel's phone. Thought about her walking right past me at the party like I was nothing while she made secret plans with another man. I swiped the card. The lock clicked open. I pushed the door, stepping inside. Soft lighting. The scent of expensive cologne and wine. A half-finished bottle of champagne sat on the coffee table, 2 glasses beside it. A pair of heels discarded by the couch. Emily's heels. Voices. In the bedroom. I moved toward the slightly open door. Every step measured. Controlled. I could hear them talking, muffled, low whispers. Then Emily's voice, just clear enough. "He won't find out. He never does." Something inside me twisted. Sharp and brutal. I pushed the door open. Emily was standing by the bed, half-dressed, her hair slightly tousled. Daniel, still in his dress shirt but with his tie loosened, froze mid-sentence. The color drained from Emily's face as she saw me. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, Jake, Emily stammered, stepping forward, already reaching for a lie. I raised a hand. Don't. Daniel had the nerve to straighten his shirt, like this was just another business meeting gone wrong. Look, man, he started. I think we should. I turned to him, my voice eerily calm. You don't get to speak. He shut up. Emily's breathing was shallow, panic flickering across her face as she scrambled for something. Anything to make this disappear. This isn't what it looks like, she tried. I actually laughed. Not what it looks like? I gestured to the bed, to the champagne, to her. Then please, tell me, what does it look like? She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. I was just, save it, I snapped, my patience disintegrating. I gave you a chance to tell me the truth. Back at the party. In the car. Every damn night when you came home late. But you didn't. Because you're a liar, Emily. Her eyes filled with tears. The same manipulative tears she had probably used on me 1,000 times before. It didn't mean anything, she whispered. Jake, please, I turned away from her, exhaling slowly, trying to keep my rage from turning into something uncontrollable. Then I spotted something. Daniel's work laptop. And just like that, my fury sharpened into something else. Revenge. I looked at Daniel, a slow smirk spreading across my face. You know what? I said, picking up his laptop. Maybe I should stick around. Emily's face paled when she saw me pick up Daniel's laptop. Jake, don't. Her voice shook, but I wasn't sure if it was fear or guilt. Maybe both. Daniel took a step forward, trying to sound authoritative. Put that down, man. Let's talk. I held up a hand, cutting him off. I told you to shut up. Then I flipped open the laptop and pressed the power button. Emily sucked in a sharp breath. Daniel's whole demeanor shifted. He looked like a man who just realized he was holding a grenade with the pin already pulled. Panicked. Babe, please, Emily tried again, stepping closer. I could practically hear the gears turning in her head as she calculated her next move. She had spent years manipulating me, twisting the truth, always making sure she had control. Not this time. I turned the screen toward me, watching as it booted up. Let's see what the big boss keeps on his work laptop, huh? Jake, Daniel's voice was sharper now. You have no idea what you're messing with. I ignored him. The desktop loaded, and immediately I spotted a folder that made my blood run cold. Contracts, confidential. Emily's eyes darted to Daniel. Guilty. Nervous. Exposed. I clicked the folder, and Daniel lunged forward. But I stepped back before he could grab the laptop. Too late, buddy. Documents popped up. PDFs, spreadsheets, emails. I clicked on one at random. The moment I saw the contents, I let out a slow whistle. Wow, I murmured. I thought you were just a scumbag cheating with a married woman. But this? I tilted the screen toward them. This looks like some very illegal business, Daniel. Emily's breathing hitched. Jake, listen. I snapped the laptop shut. Oh, I'm listening. In fact, I think a lot of people would love to hear about this. Maybe the board? Maybe the media? Daniel's face darkened. You don't want to do that. Oh, I absolutely do, I shot back. You think you can screw my wife and walk away clean? Nah. If I go down, I'm taking you with me. Emily finally realized the gravity of the situation. Jake, we can talk about this, we can work this out. I laughed, shaking my head. We? Oh, there is no we anymore, Emily. I turned my gaze back to Daniel. But you have a choice to make. Either you give me something real, or this laptop goes public. Daniel swallowed hard, weighing his options. And then, finally, he spoke. All right, he muttered, rubbing a hand down his face. What do you want? I smiled, slow and sharp. Oh, now you want to negotiate? That's cute. Emily looked between us, completely out of her depth. This was new territory for her. She was used to getting caught in little lies, flashing a few tears, and twisting things until I ended up apologizing. But this? She had no control over this. Daniel exhaled through his nose, his jaw tight. All right, fine, he muttered. Let's be reasonable. What do you want? I leaned against the desk, acting far more relaxed than I felt. Oh, I don't know, I mused, tapping the laptop. I could forward these little gems to your competitors, or your investors, or the SEC. Daniel flinched at that one. Jake, Emily said, her voice dangerously close to pleading. You don't have to do this. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I had built a life with. The woman who had held my hand during my dad's funeral, who used to leave stupid little notes in my lunch when we were broke newlyweds. The same woman who had now snuck off to a hotel with her boss and told him I'd never find out. I wasn't sure who she was anymore, but I knew who I was. I turned back to Daniel. Here's what's going to happen. First, you're going to transfer every single penny of Emily's salary and bonuses for the last year into my account. I don't care what you have to call it. Severance, hush money. A damn oops. I screwed your wife settlement. I shrugged. Figure it out. Emily's mouth dropped open. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm dead serious. I smiled at her sweetly. I figure since you were so eager to work overtime with Daniel, I should get paid for your extra efforts. Daniel swore under his breath, rubbing his temples. Fine, he gritted out. And then what? Then I said Emily resigns. Effective immediately. Emily gasped. What? No. I worked for this job, Jake. I built my career. Oh, I know, I said coolly. You build a lot of things. Your boss's ego. His bedside routine. Too bad your actual marriage wasn't one of them. Her lip trembled, but I felt nothing. No sympathy. No guilt. Just the cold satisfaction of watching her world crash the way she had let ours rot. Daniel glared at me. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I tilted my head. Not really. But I'll enjoy knowing that every time you look at your bank statements, you'll remember this night. I smirked. And how you lost? He exhaled hard, then nodded once. I'll make it happen. I held up the laptop. Good. Because the moment I see that money land, this little treasure chest disappears. And you can pretend none of this ever happened. Daniel pulled out his phone, typing furiously, probably messaging his finance department, making the necessary arrangements. I turned back to Emily, who was still staring at me like she couldn't believe what was happening. Oh, and one more thing, I said. You're moving out. Tonight. Emily choked. Jake, please. I didn't let her finish. I didn't care anymore. I tossed the key card onto the bed, turned on my heel, and walked out, leaving my cheating wife and her sleazy boss drowning in their own mess. And for the first time in years, I felt free. I walked out of that hotel suite without looking back. I didn't need to. The damage was already done. By the time I stepped outside, the cold night air hit me like a reset button. My hands were still shaking, my heart still racing, but beneath all of that, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long, long time, clarity. Emily was gone. Not physically, not yet, but she was gone from my life, from my future. And Daniel? He was nothing more than a footnote in the story of how my wife lost everything. I pulled out my phone and checked my bank app. A fresh deposit sat in my account. A large deposit. Daniel must have really wanted this to go away. I exhaled slowly, tucking my phone back in my pocket, then hailed a cab. I didn't want to go home, not yet. Home still smelled like Emily. It still had her clothes, her perfume, the stupid little reminders of the person I thought she was. I needed time. Space. A plan. I ended up at a bar a few blocks away, nothing fancy, just quiet enough to let me think. I ordered a drink, sat in a corner booth, and let reality sink in. I was about to be divorced. The woman I loved had been sneaking around with her boss for who knows how long. And yet somehow I wasn't breaking down. I wasn't spiraling. I was angry, sure, but there was something else brewing underneath it. A sharp-edged determination that I hadn't felt in years. Emily had played me, lied to my face, made a fool out of me, and I let her. But that ended tonight. I pulled out my phone again, this time scrolling through my photos until I found exactly what I was looking for. The picture of the hotel. The one I had taken earlier before I walked in on them. I stared at it for a moment, then made my decision. I opened my messages and typed out a group text. To Emily's family, our mutual friends, some of her co-workers. Since Emily didn't have the decency to tell me herself, I figured I'd do the honors. Just in case any of you thought she was the perfect wife, here's where she was tonight. With her boss. In a hotel. Not for a work meeting. Thought you should all know who she really is. I attached the picture and hit send. Then I leaned back, sipping my drink. As my phone exploded with incoming messages, my phone buzzed nonstop. Messages flooded in, some from Emily's family, others from mutual friends, a few from numbers I barely recognized. Shock, disbelief, anger, people scrambling to process what I had just dropped in their laps. Her sister. Tell me this is a joke. Her best friend. Emily would never. One of her co-workers. Holy sh*t. We all kinda suspected, but damn. I ignored them all, because the only message I was waiting for was Emily's. And she did not disappoint. Her name flashed across my screen, calling me, but I let it ring out. Not because I was afraid of what she'd say, because I already knew. More lies. More excuses. More Emily. Then came the texts. Emily. Jake, what the hell did you do? Emily. You need to fix this. My mom just called me crying. Emily. You're being insane. You don't have to ruin my life over a mistake. A mistake. I laughed. Actually laughed. Sitting alone in that bar with a half-empty drink and a phone full of Emily's damage control attempts. I texted back one sentence. You ruined your own life. I just gave people the courtesy of knowing the truth. Read. No reply. I could picture her reaction, her hands gripping her phone, her mind spinning, trying to figure out how to reverse this. Trying to calculate her next move the way she always had. But this time, there was nothing she could do. I let out a long breath, finishing my drink as the weight of the night finally settled. It was over. Really over. Emily was out of my life. I had proof, closure, and a fat paycheck to cushion the landing. I stood up, leaving a tip on the table, and stepped outside. The city lights stretched ahead of me, bright and endless. Full of possibilities. I wasn't broken. I wasn't defeated. I was free. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. Because I knew Emily would never recover from this.